What's going on, folks? Painless. Um, See the title. I'm just going to get into it. Um, when I've said this many times in the so-called black community that, and it just is, to bring this up is very exhausting because, when you look in the so-called black community, it's the obvious thing. And that obvious thing is one cannot have, one cannot deviate from the pack, meaning to have differences, outlooks on life is heresy in the so-called black community. And I say to myself, with a group of people who who have no protocols, who really have no norms, uh, you would think that that would be welcomed, but it's not. You're expected to toe the line um, in the so-called black community, and and that has become very apparent to me in the last couple weeks. I mean, it's always been apparent, but now you see it from people that you know, friends, loved ones. They ask in the round. They ask these questions, these very obtuse questions, without saying what they really want to say to me. Those are the things that annoy me. Um, I've had people ask me, which to me is very, uh, it's, I wouldn't say disrespectful, but it's very bold to ask who you voting for. And we know the election's over. I don't, I don't know. The way the news carries on and stuff. Biden's the clear winner, from my understanding. But the Trump team, they trying to do something, whatever they trying to do, whatever. But to ask someone who they're voting for, to me, that's like asking. So that's like asking someone that you don't know. So how much you make a year, just off when you're in a position not to ask me finances. Now, if you're buying a home, if you're trying to finance a vehicle, someone you're going to deal with people you don't know that need to know your salary. But this is ordinary mode. You don't need to know. And the gall for you to ask me that it's interesting that people muster up the courage to ask someone something like that, you know. And then I've had people say, well, are you with someone of color? Not are you with a black person, but are you with someone of color? Which to me in and of itself is interesting again. Because I've told you that this idea of people of color is a farce. Because most people, if we look at color, color is just another word for non-white. I've said it in my last video, I've demonstrated how people of color, quote unquote, will treat black people the same, if not worse, than Caucasian people. So this whole mythical alliance is, which a lot of people who vote for Biden and who are marching to the slaughter, they have this idea of unity with other groups of people, and that's not true, and there's a correlation between that type of thinking and feminism, um, making boys effeminate, this whole collectivism of unity. It's funny, as a black man, you are more accepted by you would probably be more accepted dating another man as a male versus dating a Caucasian woman. That seems to be perfectly fine being a homosexual male and versus dating a woman out of your ethnic group or your race. And a lot of this rhetoric and mumbo jumbo is spearheaded by black women because if you are a black man and you deal and you choose to be homosexual, there you are no longer a competitive threat to that black woman. Now, if you're dating a woman, because you're really off the market, if you're a black male, and we know that I've said that I've said that white men and black women are in competition with black men to get black men. Now, I know that sounds crazy. All one has to do is just look at that, what's his name, Anthony Gillum? Now, here is a man married to a black woman, but chooses to dip outside and deal with Caucasian men. And, and that's where we're at, folks. We're in a very convoluted society right now, very twisted, very... You have to really be careful who you're dealing with, motives. And if you don't take anything away from Painless's videos, take that away. Always be on the swivel. Don't hate the game. Don't hate the game. Learn how to play the game. Don't just, oh, I'm taking my ball, I'm going home. No, you learn how to play in this maze of twisted debauchery. You learn. Don't get cornered. You learn how to evade and survive. So that's where we're going at now. To be a black man and to be any man. Let me get off. I occasionally say, because I'm speaking, I have a variety of my audiences from all colors, creeds, and stuff, and I enjoy that. And occasionally I'll be specific messages to black men, but this is something with all men. And I've talked about the attack on straight male, this whole toxic masculinity nonsense. And to have your own opinion is like, who do you think you are? How dare you, as a guy, have your own opinion? And how dare you have choices? You should just be thankful someone out here is paying attention to you. And then what most guys do now, because of that weak, effeminate mindset, they cave because they don't want to be ostracized or canceled out. And so that's what happens. Now, back to, I've talked about, and even the Honorable Brother David Carroll has said that black folks need political re-education. You see, black folks, a lot of us, we're good at talking shit. We are experts at running our mouth, jonesing, cracking, snapping, bagging, clowning. We are perfectioners at that. But when you get to, when I ask people, and I let people come to me. I've had people say, yeah, I see your MAGA hat over there. And that lets me, first off, I don't own a MAGA hat, and I don't understand why someone would think I have a MAGA hat. But then again, I do. You see, why I didn't vote. What Trump represents and I've heard other people say this, what Trump represents to this effeminate society that we live in, this whole woman driven society. And look, this is not an attack on women, but I'm just saying what society is moving towards. Women play a valuable role. I mean, but men now are, over the last decades, men have been looked at as abrasive, as the problem. They create wars and, when they don't understand that wars are necessary. Peace is necessary. War is necessary. What goes up must come down. Duality is necessary. It's part of the universe, and I'm not going to get into that. But Trump represents that old sense of, hey, I said what I said, this is how it's going to be. I'm not going to be cornered, and you're not going to make me apologize and say sorry. He represents what a lot of dudes that quit the football team because they couldn't handle the physicalities, or they couldn't handle the coach yelling at them and putting hands on them, to a lot of effeminate men who are really the gatekeepers for a lot of this feminist movements in terms of ostracizing and challenging men. Trump, he was like a flashback for them. Like, oh my gosh, that's how my daddy used to be. He used to be hard on me and make me cut the grass and yell at me when I didn't do what I told him, when, that coach that used to yell at me and Trump represents that to a lot of these weak men now. And what a lot of these weak men have done, they've joined forces on the other side. And we know it's for pandering, hoping for notoriety and maybe possible sex from that other side. And so a lot of people are against that, And I spoke about how it's weird for a guy to have that type of animosity to another man, and then when I ask you why, you come with weak arguments as why you don't like him. First off, the idea of liking someone from a dude to another dude, if you don't know him, to me that's a little weird to me. Unless you've wronged me as a guy. I mean, because a guy should look at a guy and be like, hey man, we have similar likings. You like to work on cars. I like to fish. I like to go to the gym. Hey man, we get up whenever. Not this. Only weak men look at other men as a threat. Put it that way. Let me simplify this shit. Only weak men look at other men as a threat if they don't know each other. And I've talked about how I've seen guys, and I know they're scared to death because, I'm 6'3", 240 pounds. And I'm not bragging or nothing, but you can feel the fear from a lot of men. And I never walk around with my chest out. I'm not eyeballing, the whole damn room. I'm just here. But a lot of weak men, see, strong men, I guess you could say alpha types, whatever, we recognize and we tip our hat and we keep it moving. Weak men are plotting and being petty and feel inferior, but trying to project a sense of superiority, even though it's fake. Those are what weak men do. And these are the type of men that pillow talk with women in hopes of getting sexual or whatever type of advantages. This is what those types of men do. So, in a nutshell, that's what society is, folks. To be direct, to tell you how, if you ask me how things should go and I tell you, that's called being mean. I notice a lot of women do that. You're being mean. Well, you asked my fucking opinion about something, and just because it doesn't jive with what you hoped I would say, now I'm fucking being mean? Well, guess what? Don't fucking ask me shit about shit next time. In fact, you came to me. I didn't go to you. You asked for my fucking opinion. So that's where we're at, folks. And again, I reiterate, play the game. Don't run from the game. Learn how to maneuver. Don't just sit up in your fucking house and cram up and jack off all day. Get out here, because that's the only way you're going to survive. And I'm not talking about life or death, really. I'm talking about just, you can't run from shit like that. You're not going to get anywhere. You're not going to get anything accomplished. So, I go back to black folks. All we do, we talk a lot of shit. We talk a gang of shit. And first off, that's not in my. I'm not naturally a shit talker. I can, but I'm not a shucker and jiver and trying to get the last word. See, because that's what kids do. And I said a lot of us in the so-called black community, now I'm seeing society in general now, haven't really grown up. Like I said, I know people who are making $215,000 together talking about oppression. And then I'm like, what? What? Like, people are really in their fields. I think this pandemic has done something. Of course, it's done a lot, but I think a lot of people are just, this is like social engineering, man. You got to be careful with a lot of people, especially now. A lot of people are just, they're so fucking bored and need something to do, so they'll just do crazy shit. Like, I'll walk outside and I just see people sitting in their fucking cars. Just for the fuck. I think that's so fucking weird. And it's cold outside, Like, why are you fucking just sitting in your damn car? See, I watch for shit. Shit like that nerves me. Like, what the fuck are you doing? That's some weirdo shit. But this is where we are, folks. This is where we are. And, that whole talking shit, when you don't have any type of political opposition, but you just mad because he says some shit you don't like or he's too abrasive, that to me is weak. Especially from a guy. But when you're in a community, as a so-called black community, and you're led by a matriarch, women-driven in that of the so-called black community, we see why things are the way that they are. Black men are some of the biggest simps, so they will kowtow to women in hopes of getting sex, things of that nature. You have a lot of black men that will do that are in positions where they solely have to lean on a woman, which is not being a man, which is problematic, which is effeminate. And those are some of the gatekeepers, some of the hurdles that you have to deal with. You'll find that you'll have to fight more men than these. You'll find you have to fight these simps harder and more often than the other side. That's what you'll find. They're the gatekeepers. And it's sad. It really is. But yeah, I just want to throw this video and kind of, I know it's kind of all over the place, but again, this is where we are, and because I know these are some things that I just think about, and I know some of you all may be thinking about them too, like, why shit is this the way that it is? This false sense of success, this false sense of of a win or victory, when it's not. Biden and Kamala is not a victory, especially when the only reason you don't like this opposition is because he's abrasive. And I've said how Biden and Harris, they are going to usher in some shit. If you thought Obama, under the Obama administration, was something, wait, check this shit out. You just check it out. And guess who is going to hurt? Black folks. But you're so reliant. You don't want that person, as long as they talk nice, as long as they're looking out for everybody, not looking out for you, he's good. They're good. And then you get this from church Negroes. And I've talked about church Negroes. These are the same ones that talk about abortion, that, where many abortions in the so-called black community are going on unchecked, going on, it's something just, hey, it is what it is, when the Bible clearly talks about, it doesn't say abortion, but it is murder. Yet you have these Planned Parenthoods right next to dialysis centers, all up inside your communities. And you're not doing anything about it. And then when someone like Painless comes, who can see things for what they are, I'm shunned. And I say this, in the so-called black community, you can be a ex-dope dealer, murdered 7 people, long as you come up in that church and get on your knees in your long Steve Harvey suit, cry, plead, shuck and buck, and all that. But someone like me, who's never done those things, but questions things, even questions things in our so-called community, and who, with a independent mind of their own, we are ostracized and exiled and excommunicated. That is one of the biggest problems of why things are the way they are in the so-called black community. How dare you have an own opinion? I want you to think about that scenario I just painted. 2 individuals, one ex-pimp, dope dealer, killer. One, the other guy, never done those things, never been to jail, but questions. he's asking questions. Not even to pretend to be a know-it-all. Just, what you asking that for? Those are the ones that are called coons, toms, because we're not eating at the trough. We can see the emperor has no clothes on. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at, folks. And you'll find, black men, when you are independent minded like that, you may not get as much play from black women. Because a lot of women in the so-called black community, not all, a lot though, they love those types of reform stories. Oh, my man used to sell dope, but he found Jesus, and we got it in. And there's nothing wrong with that. Let me just say this: there's nothing wrong with someone changing their life, because we all change. But I'm gonna show you this. Those women like those types of guys, because first off, women like guys that live on the edge, and they like a creation story. Girl, look what he came from. Look what he is now. I did that, girl. Nothing but God. But see, a guy like me who had the common sense and smarts not to put myself in a position where I had to do 12 years for killing somebody or selling dope. Never mind that I was. Now, these are the same people that say there's traps out here for black men. Black men can't get us, blah, blah. But Payless was able to, to slip and jump cut that type of shit. So what you'll find is, brothers, these women aren't very smart. That's what you'll find. They're not very smart. They're good at arguing and being petty, but they're not smart. So, and I talked about in my couple videos before about competition with brothers who have avoided these so-called pitfalls in America that white people just mysteriously, purposefully lay out just to snag black people. But I digress on that. Because a lot of women want a guy they can control. And when you're smart, and especially when you're in a part of a ethnic group like the so-called black community, and you believe in these myths that there's some white man around the corner checking you off, like, yeah, I got him. Check. Next black person. Check. When you believe that, and that's your world, that's your reality, and you have someone who's avoided that, you become like, they don't know how to put you in a box. Like when someone said, I know you got your MAGA hat over there. I said to myself, I've never posted anything on social media that would even warrant someone to draw a conclusion that I was a Trump supporter. Nothing. I don't even I don't even talk politics on my social media accounts. Nothing. I haven't before, but this was years ago. So I say to myself, where did these people get? Why couldn't I be a Biden supporter? What makes you think that I'm a Trump supporter? And I'm going to tell you why, folks. See, when you start. See, people, you have habitual posters on social media. See, when I say things, the way I carry myself, responsibility. Not saying Trump and the Republicans are poster childs for responsibility and accountability. But when I'm not putting Biden, Kamala Harris, that infamous picture of her walking with a child, and I'm not big up in Biden, and I'm not slamming Trump. You see, when you're silent, silence is very powerful. And I've said not only do black folks shuck and jive and clown too much, we talk too much as well. So when you're silent and you're not bigging up these people, you are automatically assumed to be on the other side when you damn sure didn't show any. I, I, I don't know how people draw that I support Trump. I never put no Trump shit, no Biden shit. But just because I'm not Trump, ooh, yeah, first black woman, and Biden, ooh, child, he up out of here. He got to go. Really, when you don't even know why you don't like him. I asked somebody, so why you don't like Trump? He just gets on my nerves. Well, you know what? That's not a fucking enough to me. So, but see, that's a real childish approach, you know. And you'll find yourself, you know, people will weed themselves out of your life, and that's good. You don't, you know, you know, family and friends sometimes, but you let them do that. I never do that. I would never let who you vote for dictate my relationship with family. You're going to decide how this going to go. But then when you're dealing in the age of emotionalism instead of reason, which is what we're in now, this is what happens. But look, folks, about to check out these football games. And y'all have a good Sunday. Peace.